Sigal and this is the Conflict Hotline. What you say next can change your world. I will be hosting today's show, and we'll be looking at the topic of inner conflict. You may think of conflict as something that happens between people. Today we're going to look at a different type, the conflicts that happen within us, inside of a person, and what you can do about them. With me in the studio to explore this topic is Miki Kashtan, our conflict coach. We have Ali Miller and Kerry Tepperman as our role players. Most of the time, inner conflicts happen inside us silently, but today our role players will play different sides of the same person out loud. This way, we can watch how to apply the skills in a conversation with ourselves. I'll be watching and asking questions about what happens. Now let's begin and take a look at this inner conflict that was emailed to us by a viewer. Miki, tell us what the situation is.
Thank you. So let's call the viewer Lauren, and these are two parts of Lauren here sitting. And the situation is that a good friend of Lauren's just had a very, very painful breakup, and that friend is having a really hard time and has asked Lauren to come spend the weekend with her to help her through this really difficult transition. So let's see what the two different parts, what the reactions are. So what's your reaction to being invited?
I should really go. I should definitely go. That's what a good friend would do. She's in a lot of pain. I need to be there for her. That's what I really should do.
Thank you. And what's your reaction?
I don't know. I think we need to think about this. What about us? Is this really the good thing for us to do? You're always putting other people first. I think we need to take a minute here. I don't think we should just do that.
Thank you. So we already see how there is the beginning of an internal war here, probably familiar to you. In a moment, we'll come back to see how we deal with this and work out to create more understanding internally.
Thank you, Miki. Conflict Hotline is a live call-in program about the common challenges that we all face in our relationships, at home, and in the world. We're here to demonstrate skills that we can develop to face those situations more successfully. We're an all-volunteer effort with no budget, and we are affiliated with Bay Area Nonviolent Communication. We're not taking calls tonight, but you can always email us at conflicthotline@baynvc.org. Now let's see what happens when we bring some consciousness and skills to this situation.
Thank you. So let's look at what is happening here. So say again what your initial reaction is.
I should go. I mean, that's what a good friend would do. A good friend would go to be there for her friend who's in a lot of pain.
So the first clue that you have that there is potential inner challenge or conflict or tear is the word should. As soon as you have a should there, that you know that you are talking to yourself and that there is some other part that might not want to go. Mm-hmm. And then here's this other part. And why is it that you don't want to go?
I am exhausted. I am so exhausted, and my mother-in-law just left, and I have a huge week at work, and coming up, and I just need this weekend to prepare and to get myself back together. I'm too exhausted.
Okay, so now they can be at odds with each other, go back and forth. Let's see what that could look like for a moment.
Yeah, it just sounds so selfish. Like, I get that you're exhausted, but it's like your friend is in crisis. Our friend is in crisis. This is the time to step up and be there for someone. Isn't that what you would want her to do?
Well, I think, I'm not the only friend she has. She has other friends. I mean, if we could go at some other time, we don't have to go now.
But she's in crisis now.
Well, we could, I don't know. I just can't make myself do it. And I'm tired of the way you always say yes to other people without thinking about what's important for us.
Thank you. What you can see very easily is that when you engage in an internal conversation in this way, nobody gets heard. Do either one of you feel heard by the other?
Feel heard?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'm just getting a little more frantic every time I say something.
Yes. Yeah, and so what happens when we don't get heard, whether it's internally or externally, is we turn up the volume. Mm-hmm. Don't you feel like you have to now whoosh, make yourself even bigger to make her shut down? and you like have to defend yourself, so that's not going to work. So let's see if we can bring a little bit of hearing into this. So I want to help each of you, and you are kind of like you representing the side that says good friend, this is what a good friend would do. And you're representing the side that says, let's take care of us, let's take care of me. Yeah? So,
and also, let's take a minute to really think about it and not just do a knee-jerk, gotta go.
Thank you. So let's first see what is it underneath the should. What's important to you? I'm guessing that there is some way that you really care about this person, this friend.
Yeah, it's like it's very painful for me to see how much pain she's in. I mean, she's devastated. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a friend this devastated before. And I care a lot about her. I love her, and I want her. I want to support her.
Yeah. So I'm curious, does it feel any different when you say, I should go, that's what a good friend does, and when you say, I want to support her?
Yeah, totally. I mean, one feels like when I say I should, that's what a good friend does, I feel constricted and tight and defensive. And when I let myself access that I care about her and that I want to support her, I feel softer, more open-hearted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm wondering if from within that more open-hearted place, do you have any room to hear the other part of you? Because see, at some point, if there's going to be a unified decision rather than an arm wrestling, an internal arm wrestling, which we so often do, then somebody's going to hear somebody else. Do you have room to hear?
I think I do.
Let's give it a try.
Okay.
So I feel like if I get on that plane, I'm going to cry all the way to Atlanta. And then what kind of shape am I going to be in? And, you know, I'm really, I don't know, I get really frightened when you just say yes and you don't think about.
Thank you.
Think about that part.
So what are you hearing?
I heard, I mean, what stood out to me is when you said you're going to cry all the way. And then the word frightened stood out to me, that you're afraid and that you don't want me to say yes all the time.
And do you have any sense as to why she doesn't want you to say yes all the time? Because one of the things that is foundational to this practice is that we try to bring things to what we do want rather than what we don't want.
Something about choice?
Yeah, it's not even that I don't want you to say yes all the time. It's that I want us to take a little bit of time to consider before we say yes or no.
So that you feel like there's some space around making the decision. It's not just something habitual. Or
Yeah. So it is really, I guess, about choice.
Choice.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that there's one more thing in this thing about wanting to take the time, which is that you want to have confidence that the needs that you're speaking for will be heard and included.
Well, that we have needs. I would like to just, remember that we have them, that we can't just go dragging the body off to Atlanta, that there are needs here. And we need to take time to acknowledge that.
So part of the difficulty of what I see here is that sometimes we get into a place in a situation like this, of thinking that it's the other person's needs or my needs.
Right.
And if you take a deeper look, this part is also speaking for needs. What needs is this part speaking for? Do you have a sense?
Oh, I think it's like a need to contribute.
To contribute.
And a need for...
To express care.
To express care.
Mm-hmm.
So those are also needs of yours.
And there's another one. It's like something about wanting to live in a world where people you know, it might not be what I had planned, but I want to live in a world where people are responsive to each other's crises.
So you want to find in you the capacity to rise to occasions and to trust yourself that you'll do that.
Because I want other people to do that for me.
Yeah.
And I want us all to do that for each other. That it's not just when it's convenient for me.
Yeah. So see, the part of what I think begins to create movement around here is recognizing that both sets of needs live inside the same person. And it's not that this is my needs and the other person's needs, that it's both of them are my needs. Wondering if that rings true in any way for you.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have a different, when I hear that last piece, that it's not all about someone else in a way, that it's about something that's alive inside us, I feel the value of it more. I feel more willingness to kind of try and find more space for that.
Great. This is one of the ways that it starts shifting, is when you recognize that all of it is part of you. And it's not really kind of like a win-lose. It's like, what can we do to move here for both parts to be included? And I have a sense that you have a question.
Yeah, I'm imagining that it's hard to remember that both of you are holding parts that are important to Lauren when there's a demand coming out from the outside. It might be even harder to remember that. Is that accurate?
Well, part of what happens is there are layers of demand. Before we even get to the friend, there is the way that I'm tracking it. It's almost like, because this part doesn't trust that the needs for care, for rest, for manageability, for all of these kinds of things will be considered. There is like an intensity of, I demand that you pay attention to me. That's one internal demand. Then there's an internal demand, I should be this way. And so what you end up having is a fight between two internal demands, which makes it such that whichever way you go, you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
If you stay home, you're not actually going to be able to take good care of yourself, because you're going to sit there churning, I should have gone, what kind of a person am I?
Right, you're slapping your wrist for either way.
Yes,
Either way
and if you go without making peace with this, you go there and you end up being exhausted and resentful the whole time that you're there, because I didn't pay attention to myself and I should have stayed, and why did I get myself into this mess? I knew that it was going to be too much for me. So
Great.
Yeah.
So let's come back and look at what kind of conversation we have once we've really heard both sides of ourselves, after we take a break.
Thank you.
So right now we're going to take a break, and we'll come back to look at this situation with a little more balance.